All right, we are live on a late night edition of Dylan's History of Sports. We're going down under with my friend Megan from Australia. So Megan, uh, what is it, 1:16, 1:17 in the afternoon, and no,
Yep.
I think it's what 11:17 here in Florida, USA. So welcome and
Thank you. Yep. 1:15 Thursday afternoon, my time. Yep.
yeah, and because you're south of the border, I bet you the temperature is a little different than what it is here, right?
It's about 13 degrees Celsius. I'm not sure what it is in Fahrenheit because I can't do a conversion mentally. Yeah, and it's been pouring rain 3 days. And yeah, we're 3 days of full winter here, and it's absolutely freezing. I'm sitting, I've got my boots on, I've got socks you can't see under the desk, but yeah, freezing.
Feels like Seattle. Feels like Seattle, right?
It is actually giving me thunderstorms, but yeah, giving me very big Seattle vibes, which I actually love, except I get migraines from humidity and thunderstorms, so not so much, but yeah.
And it's crazy how a fan from Australia can root for the Seahawks, of course, maybe being Northwest Australia, the Seahawks, of course, in the Pacific Northwest. So
I did not actually make that connection. My best friend Brandon, who I do the Hawks Nest with, said, "You told me you're from the northwest of your state." Yeah, Pacific Northwest. And on top of that, I'm actually I'm 4 months younger than the Seahawks' first game. They played their first game on the 1st of August, 1976, and I was born on the 1st of December, 1976. So there's that too. So yeah.
Yeah, so what's your earliest football memory what's the earliest football memory you have growing up?
Of NFL?
Yeah.
Okay, so here in Australia, until we got cable TV, which was 1999, 2000, we would only get one NFL game each year. And I grew up in the 80s, so it was the Super Bowl that we would get each year. So I grew up with Joe Montana and Jerry Rice of the 49ers. Now, this is going to get me thrown out of the 12s, but I love Joe Montana, and I would root for the 49ers, and particularly Joe. And that was the only game we would get here on our national broadcaster, was the Super Bowl, was a 49ers fan. Then, so I'm a big USC fan. You can see on the door I've got all my USC hats from when I was in California in 2022. And of course, Pete Carroll was the USC head coach, not when I was there, but before that. And I love him as a coach. And of course, he went to Seattle in 2010. And I thought, I'll just follow the coach. I hadn't heard of the Seahawks. She said the Pacific Northwest of my state. And yeah, the rest was history, pretty much from 2010. I had heard of, people like Steve Largent and Jim Zorn, who are my two favorite Seahawks of all time. Sean Alexander, who I got to see elevated into our Ring of Honor when I was there in 22. But I had never, because they weren't making the Super Bowl, I hadn't actually seen them on TV down here. But yeah, Pete Carroll went to Seattle, and I basically followed him and fell in love with the team, the city, the 12s, and yeah, have been ever since.
And so now, games happen thick and fast. I'm guessing your first big Seahawk memory would have been the beast mode quake when Marshawn Lynch basically ran through the whole defense.
I had friends at that game, and the classic line, "I'm just here so I don't get fined." I love Marshawn, and he's actually part owner of one of my favorite hockey teams, the Seattle Kraken. I think my first big memory was definitely Beast Mode, but it was actually Richard Sherman. I love Sherm as well, not as much as Beast, but the way he would play and he'd get up into people's faces, being that firecracker that he was. But definitely Beast Mode. I've still got Saints fan friends that still shake their heads at that, but I don't know what it was about that I thought, oh, this is the team I want. And I think it was that game was also my first real introduction to the 12s. And, it's always said that there is no stadium quite like Lumen with the 12s roaring for their team. And I've watched that game several times. I've watched that moment several times, and you could feel through the screen the 12s. And I was there in 22. I lost hearing for 2.5 weeks. And the stupid thing was, Dylan, I had earplugs in my pocket. And by the time I realized probably should put those in before the eardrum bursts, it was too late. Definitely Beast Mode, Richard Sherman, all the Legion of Boom. Great time to be a fan for sure.
Made two Super Bowls, won one.
Got the Lombardi right there for our last one. Where is it? Oh, sorry, I can't see it there, but yes, got a Lombardi there for this year. Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously the first Super Bowl would have been the Seahawks Broncos Super Bowl. That would have been Russell Wilson, Peyton Manning at MetLife.
Yep.
And I'm guessing, being a Seahawks fan, you're thinking, this is a dream come true. First snap of the game, Manning
I was going to say that first
snaps the ball 20 feet over Peyton Manning's head. I'm like, this game's over.
I didn't watch it live at the time because I had something else on. But I remember, watching that first snap and it flies past Manning and it was like, no way. Can we actually, how you have a feeling that it's like, you watch the first snap and depending how that goes, that's like how the game goes, which it did in that case. And you're sitting there going, oh God, no, really? Peyton Manning did that? Okay. And then it was what it was. I remember they had the parade in Seattle as they do. And I was still shaking my head like, no, we just haven't won the Super Bowl, because it was like, and even this year, this past year, I was in Sydney for a trip. I was sitting in a sports bar watching us beat the Rams for the championship game, wearing pretty much what I had a throwback on, going, no. We couldn't have just done that, and we did, of course, and everyone buys you drinks and whatnot. But that first Super Bowl, it seems surreal. And even now, looking at it, and the one we had this year against the Pats, it just seems so surreal because you hope and you talk your team up all the time as 12s do. And then it's like, hang on, second-year head coach, we're supposed to be rebuilding. Hey, if this is a rebuild with a Super Bowl win, I'll take it. We'll rebuild every effing year, So it's pretty special.
Yeah, and then we all know what Russell Wilson did. Seahawks fans probably remember the second Super Bowl when Seattle didn't give Marshawn Lynch the ball. Did you even see or know Russell Wilson before the 12s drafted him?
No, I had heard of him at a college level. I wasn't really into the draft at that point. I've only sort of the last few years really, stay up for literally for 4 days straight drinking a shed ton of coffee to stay awake because it's 10 a.m. the first day here, then midnight, then 2 a.m. for the last 2 days. So no, I didn't. I kept hearing how good he was, and I was like, hey, if that's our QB, that's our QB. Not really that interested. But there was something special about him. I don't like the way he went out of Seattle to this day. I think it was, I mean, it's his right to leave the team, but burning the bridges and pretty much saying it's either the GM and the coach go or I go, I would have been like, don't let the door hit you on the way out, sir. Not thank you for the Super Bowl. But no, to answer your original question, I had no idea. Having said that, watching him those first couple of years was brilliant. It's like a little short. Yeah, okay. But yeah, it was special to watch at the time. But yeah, I'm not a fan. I think I would say to that.
Why do you think Russell Wilson regressed so much after leaving Seattle? I mean, because it seemed like Russell was so consistent. He was a Pro Bowl year after year.
I think it's all looking back now at what he had, and excuse me while I wipe my nose for a moment. I think you don't know what you've got till it's gone, and I think Russell wanted out. And that's fine. I don't care that he wanted out. Some players stay for a career in one team with one team, and that's wonderful. I love loyalty, but others want out because they think they can do bigger and better. That I just think with Russell it was a little bit. I don't know you, Larry, but I do like the name Lamar. That's my other bird team. So yeah, I think it was. I hate to say it, and I don't mean disrespect to Russell, but maybe a little bit of the ego, the coach or me. As I said, okay, we're keeping the coach, and we only kept him a couple of years after that, of course. Out you go. Yeah, and I don't think his manager helped him. I'll leave it at that. But yeah.
And then maybe what happens to these short quarterbacks is that once the skills erode, there's not a plan B.
Right, and I think, you have your 6'6" quarterbacks and can see over the pocket and throw. And I think Kyler Murray in our division with the Cardinals is a great example of that. Now, there were other things, being distracted by Call of Duty as a gamer. I completely understand that. Yeah, I wonder if, we sort of had, with Russell coming out, we had a run of the shorter QBs, and it's like, well, okay, you're getting older, your skills are eroding, as they all do. What's next? You go to another team when you're still going to have those fundamental issues with not being able to see. You have a shoulder injury or a finger injury, and it does erode. Yeah, I wish Russell no harm, but I'm not. I remember I was going to Seattle in 22, and unfortunately I missed the first game of the season, which was Russell's homecoming to Seattle, which Seattle ended up winning just. And through the TV, you could hear it seemed to be a division of the 12s, the Russell fans and the non-Russell fans. Yeah, I think it was interesting watching him. I don't think he'll be in the Hall of Fame, as tragic as that is, because he was a Hall of Famer. I don't think he's done himself any favors. But that's all I'll say about that. So, yeah.
You mentioned going to see the 12s play in 22. What makes Lemon Field so difficult? Because we all know it's probably the loudest outdoor environment in the
Oh, no, hang on. Oh, no. Kansas City will have you believe that their stadium, because they've got the record, their microphones were in the wrong place. Okay, you were saying, well, Paul Allen, our late owner, who had Lumen Field built on the Kingdome site in Sodo in Seattle, had acoustic engineers come in because he's was a University of Washington fan. Sorry, he was a Husky fan, and their stadium, Husky Stadium, is built acoustically for the same reason. And Paul Allen said, "I want that for the Seahawks." So, yeah, it is insane. I mean, my friend and I, Brandon, were sitting this close to each other, like side by side, this close to each other, and we had to scream at each other to have a conversation. It's hard to describe what it is about the 12s. I mean, we're known as one of the most passionate teams. I'm not trying to avoid the question. I'm trying to think how I can describe it to someone who's not one of us. It's passion, it's tribe, it's community. It's love of the team. I mean, every team fan base loves their team, but with the 12s, it's like we get called that, or we're told we're in Alaska, or at the very least Vancouver Island in Canada. No, I'm not good at geography, but no, there's a border between us and Canada. Just saying. I think it's what Paul Allen always said he loved about football. You know, he'd go to Husky Stadium with his dad and just watch the tribe, the Husky tribe. The Seahawks became a tribe. And I think what was so beautiful when I was there was you had the Seahawks making their run. You had the Kraken, the second full year of the Kraken, and you had the Mariners breaking the longest playoff drought in history that same year. So you had the three Seattle teams doing reasonably well. I mean, the Kraken fell off, as they do. And if you know the geography, you have Lumen Field here, and down the road at the intersection is T-Mobile Park. And I remember the day I went to see the Seahawks that we were playing the Cardinals. It was the playoff game. And if the Mariners had won the game the night before, they would have gone to game 6, and you would have had 300,000 people between Lumen and T-Mobile. And if you know that area, there ain't a lot of room to move. Unfortunately, the Mariners lost the night before, but you still had 100,000. And then around after we won the game, you have everyone heading to the bars. So it's just community. We're all around the world, you know. I think I read somewhere, or I was told, here in Australia, we have the 4th largest number of 12s outside of Seattle. I'm not sure if that's true. That's what I've heard. Germany, the UK, South America, us down here. And it does help that our kicker, I knew our kicker, Michael Dixon, when he played AFL in Sydney, just very sort of, oh, there he is over there. I heard he's going to the NFL. Yeah, so I guess, as I said, it's so hard, and I've been asked it many times what it is to be a 12. Yeah, it's not one thing. It's a passion for our team. Cut me, I bleed blue and green. 10 a.m. Seattle is 3:30 a.m. here in Burrell, and I am up every day watching the team win, lose, or draw. So, yeah, it's a passion, I think, yeah.
Are Seattle fans jacked up on coffee, or they lubricated?
Well, I am. I'm always jacked on coffee. I am a slave to the bean, and I do love my Starbucks Pike Place roast. No, as I said, it's a passion thing for us. Like I said, I'm not saying it's exclusive to us, as you know, it's only a Seahawk thing, and if you're not a 12, you don't get it. All fans have their passion for their team. I think, you know, someone joked it's the combination of the rain. What was it? It was the weather, the salmon, and the Starbucks coffee that makes a Seattle fan. Having the salmon yeeted over your head at Pike Place Market, which I've also done. Drinking at the first Starbucks, which I've also done. Yeah, but as I said, it's really hard to define what it is to be a 12. But there was a really good documentary done by a friend of mine, Norb, who looked at that, and he said himself, he's a lifelong 12, lifelong Seattle resident. You can't define it, and if someone asks you, you just say it's a 12 thing. I don't know how to describe it, but yeah.
How do Australian fans respond in the NFL? Because when people down under think of football, you probably think more rugby or soccer, because you know New Zealand Blacks.
And I'm an All Blacks fan as well. I love the rugby. When I usually describe it as being an NFL fan, so I don't even often say football. I'll say, oh, I'm doing an interview with Dylan about the Seahawks and the NFL, as opposed to football, because we have rugby league, we have rugby union, we have soccer, and we have Australian rules football. So we have 4 branches of football, if you call it that, or 4 kinds of football. So I usually say I'm an NFL fan. Who's your team? The Seahawks. Because as you said, you don't have to differentiate between, oh, you're talking about soccer, that's football in the UK, or rugby, as you said, which is football in New Zealand, the UK, and Europe. So yeah, I usually I know a lot of Aussie fans will say NFL fan, and then differentiate, oh, we're members of the 12, we're Seahawks fans, or whatever. Yeah.
And I think it's crazy how certain country and maybe the NFL is trying to tap into this by going all these places, because I would never think that there'd be an NFL game in Australia, because that trip would seem ludicrous, because you've made the trip from Australia to Seattle. How many hours is it?
I did Seattle to LA, which was 17 hours. And then did Seattle. Well, I love that the Seahawks are sort of on the front foot with this, because, of course, we had 12 North, which expanded it to our Canadian brethren. And, of course, Seattle is a lot closer to Canada than it is to Australia. I love that we're on the front foot for it. We had the game in Munich. Rugby is brutal, and the reason why rugby players don't wear helmets and pads like the American footballers do is because we had a player nearly decapitated when he was tackled, and he had his shoulder pads pulled over his head. He was nearly decapitated and ended up paralyzed. So we do have a large contingent of fans. As I said, Canada, Germany, we played the Bucks in Germany. I was supposed to go to that game and ended up with COVID on the way home, unfortunately. I love it because I was told.
By the way, the only time I remember Tom Brady ever getting a tripping penalty in his NFL career was that Munich game.
That Munich game, yeah. That was a 2:30 a.m. game with COVID, long COVID. That was a lot of fun to sit up with. And a loss. I love the fact that they're at least considering the international fans, because I was told that I wasn't a true fan because I'm from Australia in a chat yesterday by a very disgruntled 49ers fan who I told there's no way he's winning the Super Bowl, despite what this particular idiot thought. And I'm not saying it's all 49ers fans, by the way. I love I was going to the Melbourne game, but I'm going to Paris for my birthday instead next year. It's brutal, the travel, but the Seahawks have been top 3 traveling teams for years. The year I went to Seattle, which was 2022, we'd done something like 30,000 miles, not including Munich. And I get that it's not ideal. But as I said to my Rams content creator friend, so we miss out, or we as fans are expected to drop, like I did for that trip, $75,000 to come and see our team. Yeah, I mean, okay, but you're going to lose a lot of fans, particularly when you've got a couple of players in the league. You got Michael Dixon and his cousin playing, and they're from Sydney. You're going to tell us we have to drop our coin, which most of us, if we've got it or save for it, will do. I'll drop another $75K to come to Seattle for a month. Hell yeah. But average fans aren't going to be able to do that. So you're going to miss out on a large portion of your fan base because you don't want to travel. But you expect us to do that 18-hour trip to travel? Yeah. I could rant about that all day, but I won't.
And as a fan of a team that goes overseas every year, it's hard when your team, like my Jags, losing 2 home games this year now.
Yeah, and I get that too. The Rams playing the 49ers is a division game week 1. And as my Rams friend said, that would be better at SoFi. I can tell you
better SoFi for the 49ers because we know the 49ers packed that stadium.
That's what I said. And also, I can tell you that the Melbourne Cricket Ground, where that game will be played, has been sold out. As soon as tickets went on sale for that game, it was sold out within, I think it was 10 minutes. Now, that does not include, I will tell you, the hospitality and the corporates who will have boxes. Now, you're going to I understand it's a division game, and yes, I understand the Rams' concern because, let's face it, in the NFC West, no disrespect to the Niners, it's going to be Rams and Seahawks again. Possibly Niners will throw in a few games to make it interesting. And no team on earth, including the Seahawks, are on their A game week 1. Throw in jet lag. Well, you come down early, you play your last preseason game, get the F on a plane and get the hell down here to acclimatise. Because don't forget, you're going into fall in September. Down here, that's spring, and that's heating up. So...
And remember, the game is going to be Thursday night in America, but Friday morning, afternoon down in Australia.
Wednesday afternoon, the 9th of September, 8th of September, I think. But yeah, so all these considerations have to be taken into consideration. But I'm saying the Seahawks were in Munich for 2 weeks before that. We had a bye. No, we had the bye the week after. So if you plan it correctly, jet lag is a bitch. I can attest to that, not only because I have a sleeping disorder, it is a bitch. But if you plan it well enough, you can accommodate these things. You can accommodate the time zone change because I don't think we're in daylight savings October, so you missed that. But that the weather's going to change. The jet lag is going to change. So all of that needs to be taken into consideration. But telling me the best game would have, and we would have absolutely killed New England again. But I am devastated that the Super Bowl replay, Seahawks and New England, which is our week 1 game, is not being played in Australia. Because I guarantee as soon as that would be announced, people would be throwing down the $7,000 to get a ticket for this game. I would have thrown down I would have closed my eyes and gone, shut up and take my money now. But that's at Lumen week 1. So, yeah. But
I wonder who's going to wave. I wonder who's going to wave. Who's going to raise the 12-man flag that night?
Oh, I have already heard who it could be. I'm not willing to put my money on it yet, but they have already started looking at that. That's going to be a brilliant game. And yeah, isn't it wonderful what a really easy schedule, how an easy schedule can get you into the Super Bowl, New England, but have you fall flat on your ass. Yeah.
Well, that's what happens when you play a backup quarterback in an AFC championship game.
That's a whole nother. We'll have to talk about that because I'm still grinning about that. Watching New England content creators think they were absolutely going to kill us. How'd that go for you, New England? It's sort of grin.
Yeah, and I'm watching Drake May get back there. I mean, drop back, and I'm like,
they say Sam Darnold sees ghosts. Drake May was seeing stars from getting absolutely drilled. Okay, just saying.
Well, you mentioned Sam Darnold, and a guy who I think was neglected and who was seen as a bust with the Jets and the Panthers.
Yep.
Spent the year with Kyle Shanahan. Great year with Kevin O'Connell. Comes to Seattle. People are like, what are the Seahawks doing? Because they traded.
I was one of them. I love Sam. I've loved him since USC. But when we drafted him, when we took him, I was like, I love him, and I do. What the actual hell? But I still hear that Sam's going to see ghosts. And one of my actually San Francisco friend on the NFC West Roundtable said he's got the perfect Halloween dress up for Sam, Ghostbuster with the proton pack, and I just fell on the floor laughing because I think I did a super chat to the chat saying Sam ain't seeing no ghosts, and what more does that man have to do to prove how good he is? Okay, he's not always good, but no player is, Yeah. I'm so happy. And a lot of the 12s were like, we friggin' told you, you idiots were not going to give him a chance. And look, let's face it, the first couple of years, he sucked. You have to say it as it is.
But let's just say he probably went to the Wolves team because Sam was 21 years old and playing for the Jets. And let's just say this: the New York Jets are not the Seattle Seahawks run. They don't have John Snyder GMing or Mike McDonald head coach.
Let's face it, the Jets. It's the team where all good players go to have their careers die. I think, is that harsh? Perhaps. Fair, completely. Yeah, you're right. And I think it was because I kind of watched the Vikings, but don't keep one eye on them. It was that year with Kevin O'Connell that had me thinking, okay, this is what I saw at USC. Not all the time, because as you said, he was came out of college, goes to the Jets, absolutely fails at the Jets, but then was he set up to fail with the Jets? And that's the question. Because I jokingly say it's where all good careers go to die. But it's not, as you said, it's not like the Jets had JS, our illustrious GM, or Mike McDonald, or Kevin O'Connell there. So I just wonder a lot of the time, using the Jets as an example, how much of it was Sam himself as a young man coming out for that first team, and how much of it isn't, but should be placed at the Jets' feet, saying, well, it's not like you set him up for success. So, yeah, a little bit of A and a little bit of B,
Was there a game last year that told you Sam Darnold was ready to take on the NFL's best? Because I think that Sunday night game against Washington told me, yeah, Sam's for real.
I think it was a combination of games. I don't think it was one game, because there was the game, and I'm blanking, sorry, Dylan, on who it was against, where he had all the picks and everyone throws their hands up and goes, there he is.
Might have been the first Ram game.
I think it was. Yeah. No, it was. And he has all the picks and everyone's going, there we go. And I'm just like, hey. Yeah. I even said it in our chat. Back off. He's rattled. Okay. It was the Rams. But I think it was gradually, like he was stepping up each time. Yes, he fell down, like climbing the staircase. Yes, he fell down a few times, had the picks. I think the game that really had me believing in Sam was the championship game. And actually two. It was the 2-point conversion, which Rams still bitch about, but it was legal. And it was the championship game. I was in Sydney watching that at a sports bar in full kit, and I was like, oh, hell yeah, there he is. But as I said, it wasn't for me any one game. It was, certainly the Rams game when he was shaking, we were all like, oh, okay, this is not good. But then I just kept saying, pump the brakes, let him get used to it. And it was the gradual improvement, yes, with a few stumbles, sure, but I think it was the championship game where I remember saying to my friend Brandon, oh, we're going all the way, baby. And not only are we going all the way, we are taking it in Santa Clara. And, of course, the rest is history. Yeah.
Yeah, not only see Sam Darnold play well, but outplay the league MVP that year and go blow for blow with Stafford for something.
Yeah, and I think a lot of Rams fans were like, this wasn't supposed to happen. We were supposed to take the 1 seed and we were supposed to, go to the Super Bowl. Well, you choked away a 16-point lead. You're relying and I'm not saying Matt Stafford isn't a great player, MVP player, and I will say if he's ever up for the MVP, Stafford's going to get it. But you discounted Sam way too early.
And LA special teams couldn't catch a cold in Alaska barefoot.
That insults the Alaskan barefoot winter, but yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Or using a golf terminology, favorite golf terminology, the Rams couldn't hit water if they fell off a boat.
Dude, the Rams special teams couldn't fight their way out of a wet paper bag by themselves in a room full of light. We can mock the Rams, and trust me, I do. And I loved that he was underestimated because, and I'm going to say it because you're on the East Coast, Dylan, underestimate us. It's fun when we are supposed to be the worst team in the NFC West. Because let me tell you, brother, I got a 3D printed Lombardi on the shelf because it's so much fun when you underestimate us and we go, just like the classic quote from Mike McDonald, we did not care. So yeah.
I can attest when Seattle came to Duval County week 6, you kicked our butts. I remember Jaxon Smith Njigba literally catching every pass. Good for my fantasy team, but
I was just saying, I'm in the Hawks Nest League, and the boys all laughed at me for taking JSN. I had second pick. I took JSN straight up, and everyone's like, "What'd you do that for?" That's a reason. I'm just sitting there going, end of the year.
And by the way, in all league, guess who took JSN?
Who, you? I was going to say, yeah, you laughed at me for taking him second pick, boys. How'd that work out with you? Only my second year in the league, and I just kicked all but 2 because I got third. I got a week 1 bye, and I strengthened that team. And I would have won, except Zach Charbonnet got injured at the wrong moment. And I was like, oh. But yeah,
I
Yeah.
actually got the most points in the regular season, but ended up losing my semifinal.
Oh
Yeah.
no! I got third, but most of all, I wanted to beat Brandon, and I did. I did. But yeah, I mean, I, I just hope the hate stops this year for Sam. It probably won't. But yeah, I've loved him since USA. Yeah, sure, he sucked at the Jets. I'm not going to paint that anyway. But I think it was for me, Kevin O'Connell believing in him and saying, you got this, you do you. And then he came to us, and yeah, I was like, really? Okay. I don't hate it. I don't love it. We'll see. And then, of course, last year happened, and turning cartwheels for it. So yeah.
Do you think we see some wide receivers have big years, but Jaxon Smith Njigba, I'm not sure he was healthy the first 2 years, plus DK Metcalf there. But I think what we saw last year was JSN show what he did. That Rose Bowl for Ohio State, he was such a great route runner, and showing that
Yeah.
what, you don't have to be a big receiver, you don't have to be a fast receiver, you just have to run routes, because that's what JSN did last year. He ran.
100%. Yeah. And I think you also, I mean, JSN got the bag, well deserved. The scary thing about JSN, as I said, took him in fantasy, loved him in fantasy. He's only going to get better. Knock on wood, barring catastrophic injury, that kid is only going to climb. Now, what that means for everybody else in the league, look out. I like the pieces we've got with him this year. I love the fact that, as you said, he was able to run those routes. I love the fact that Sam knew that and they worked on it. I love all of that. I kind of think, as I said, barring catastrophic injury, the sky's the limit, literally, for him. Yeah.
And then, how about you, Coach? In an era of great offensive minds, Mike McDonald shows, hey, you know what? A young defensive mind can win a Super Bowl, right?
I loved Mike when he was with the Ravens. As I said, the Ravens are my second bird team. Yeah, again, after having so long with Pete Carroll, I wasn't sure what to expect with Mike as a head coach. I liked him as the defensive coach for the Ravens. I mean, we saw what he did there. But yeah, exactly. Welcome to the new NFL. What amazed me about Mike is he had not had a head coaching position before this, and he took us to the Super Bowl in the second year. And well, let's face it, I'm going to say it now, we'll take us back to back. Yeah, I mean, an amazing get. I wasn't sure what to expect of him in the league as a head coach, but hell, I don't hate it. I definitely do not hate it. And yeah, again, you're never sure with a new head coach, but I think what I like is the mindset. When I saw an interview with him, I think it was yesterday, day before release, and we're not talking about running it back. We're only looking forward. Yeah.
And you know what? I mean, looking what the Seahawks did a decade plus ago, the Seahawks are thinking, we're not going to lose that second Super Bowl. We're going to win in LA this year. Sorry, Rams, you're not going to get a home Super Bowl.
Oh God, might it be sweet? As the 12s on the as I said on the round table. So our home is in Seattle, of course, but we have summer homes in SoFi and Levi. So we've got our, how birds go south for the winter. We're good. We're good. Fro's here, one of our 12s. Good to see you. And no, I still have the headache. But yeah, so we've got our holiday accommodation worked out. I don't like to say it's going to be a dynasty or a dynasty, as you folks say in the States, for the Seahawks, but I'll take it back to back and work on the dynasty later.
The only part of the schedule that you probably hate is that the 12s and the Rams play 2 times the last 3 weeks. I'm sure you would like playing the Rams.
No, I actually love that. I love the week 11 bye, but we have what we're calling the gauntlet run before and after. I don't mind where we play the Rams. Yeah, I would have liked, as some 12s are saying, we would have liked the Rams done and one and done earlier. I don't mind it. I like that we get, as I said, we get the week 11 bye. I like that we sort of have a mini gauntlet, as we're calling it, before the bye, so we can have that time off to regroup and then go for the kill in the final run. So I don't know. I can understand why both 12s and Rams fans are kind of like, that sucks. It will show who truly deserves to win the division, whether it's us or the Rams. It'll be us. I said what I said, Stephen. I can't be held responsible for how you hear things. So, yeah, I don't mind it. I'm glad we get the 49ers out of the way. I'm just trying to remember. Yeah, we get the early run with the Niners, so yeah.
At Denver on a short week, it's not going to be easy.
That's going to be that's the one I'm not sure of. People are asking for my predictions. That'll go either way. Short week, as you said, in Denver. Not looking forward to that. But
I can attest, my team goes to Denver week 2, but Denver's coming off a Monday night game in Kansas City.
But it'll be what it'll be. But I just want the game, whether it's in Denver, Seattle, Washington, wherever, just to be competitive. There's one thing I hate, particularly if I'm going to get up, at ungodly hours, is a blowout. I mean, yeah, it's nice when the Seahawks blow teams out, but I want to see competition. Yeah, so the Denver one is the one I'm flipping a coin for. As you said, the short week, mile high. I have that as a loss with a question mark, depending what happens before.
And then playing the Rams, of course, on Christmas. Christmas is going to be.
Well, that'll be Boxing Day for me, and I have a long-standing commitment to the cricket on Boxing Day, eating leftovers. So I'm not sure. I'll probably have a split screen and watching both and screaming at both. So yeah, we're supposed to be in Melbourne for that game, but as I said, I'm going to Paris next year, so it won't be. That's the only one I've got as a loss. The others, the Cards, I love pantsing the Cards because my brother's a Cardinals fan, and I love when we beat them. I really don't have. People are already asking me for my predictions. I don't have a clue yet. I need to really sit down and look for my predictions. I have said 13-4. I think I need to revise that and say 14-3. Yeah.
I was just thinking, it may or may not happen. What if the Seahawks and Jags meant for the Super Bowl at SoFi this year?
Okay, that's out of left field and not going to happen. Well, we're definitely going back to back then for sure, aren't we? At another 3D printed Lombardi there with the 2 Super Bowl rings I have there already.
Come on! You're not giving Trevor Lawrence a chance again.
Trevor, let me fix my hair, Lawrence. No, I do like Trevor. That'd be an interesting Super Bowl. I mean, we'd trouch you, but we'd probably trouch you more than we did the Patriots this last one. But hey, gotta have I will never squish a dream much. So yeah.
I mean, as one of 4 teams without a Super Bowl berth, it would be nice to see.
It'd be nice. Look, I get that. I know fans that I'm a Toronto Maple Leafs fan in the hockey.
Oh gosh!
Yeah, how agonizing is that? Yeah, look, for any team that hasn't won a Super Bowl, yes, the dream is always there. And as I said, I don't want to squish your dreams, but if that were to happen, I don't see the Jags winning. No disrespect intended to your team. Actually, a lot of no, I kid. That's fair, Stephen. No worries, Fro. That's kind of what I was getting towards, Stephen, but you put it far more beautifully. Painting the picture vividly there, Stephen. Thank you. No worries, Fro. I'll talk to you soon. But yeah, I don't know what that's like. On our round table for the NFC West, we have a Bills fan, and he's always joking. I wish I know, with Brandon and I wish I knew what it was to hold a Lombardi, and I'm on camera holding the 3D Lombardi going, it's great. But yes, I can't imagine not having a Super Bowl. You play for so long, and however long your team has been in existence and however many seasons. I loved this year was 12 years since the last one, and it was also our 50th anniversary. So I loved that we got the ultimate birthday the birthday gift, and I think I mentioned it on a stream, and no one put together that it was 12 for the 12s, which I thought was really cool.
And you know what? The craziest thing in not even a month, your team, that being Australia, and my team, the U.S. men's national team, are going to play in the World Cup in Seattle, no less.
I know, and I wish I could have got. Oh, dude, I wish I could have gotten over for that. Yes. Yes, it would have been phenomenal to see that in Seattle again. Is it at Lumen? Right? It is. Yeah, someone tagged me in that. It's like, oh, dude, if I wasn't going to Paris next year for my birthday, as I said, I would have considered that trip for sure.
Maybe. I mean, and I think that's a 3 o'clock start time here, so that'd be what, 5 or 6 in the morning your time.
Yeah, it's usually 4:30, I think, without. No, 5 a.m. Yeah, 4:30, 5. Yeah.
Oh, but I bet you those 1 o'clock games, or those like 9:30. Yeah, those 1 o'clock games have got to be hard at either getting up at 3 o'clock or staying up to 3 o'clock.
I'll usually do what I do for the draft. Just drink coffee and stay awake for 24 hours and then crash. And I always check the diary that when I'm going to do that, I've got nothing on for the next few days so I can sleep. But yeah.
All right, Megan, thanks for hopping on.
Great.
What this was Wolf staying up late for, and hopefully we have 28 goals when we play in Seattle, and maybe we'll talk in another.
Yeah, definitely.
Super Bowl.
Hit me up. I will definitely, definitely chat to you soon. And yeah.